Clark Gable reveals the 5 Hollywood legends he truly respected. Clark Gable, famously known as the King of Hollywood, was born on February 1, 1901, in Cadiz, Ohio. His early life was far from the glamour and spotlight that would later define him. Gable's childhood was filled with hardship, loss, and determination, qualities that shaped the man he became. When Clark was just 7 months old, tragedy struck. His mother, Adeline Hershelman Gable, died suddenly, leaving him in the care of his father, William Henry Gable, a hard-working but strict oil driller. William was tough and rarely showed affection, forcing young Clark to grow up fast. His stepmother, Jenny, however, noticed his interest in music and art and encouraged him to explore them, a rare kindness in his otherwise difficult youth, despite his rough start. Clark was always curious and full of ambition. During his teenage years, he worked odd jobs, from a tire factory worker to a farmhand, anything to survive. But deep inside, he knew he wanted more than a small-town life. It wasn't until he saw a stage play that everything changed. The moment he watched actors performing under bright lights, he felt something spark inside him. He wanted to be up there, to perform, to be remembered. Against his father's wishes, Clark left home and joined a small acting troupe, earning barely enough to eat. But his passion kept him going. In the 1920s, he made his way to Hollywood with almost nothing, just a few dollars and a big dream. At first, he struggled. Casting directors told him his ears were too big, his face too rough. But Gable refused to give up. He took small stage roles, worked backstage, and learned every detail of the craft. Eventually, his deep voice and natural confidence caught the attention of producers. He started getting minor film roles, and soon Hollywood noticed something special, that magnetic charm that later made him a legend. Clark's early life taught him resilience, humility, and strength. Every rejection only made him more determined to succeed. He wasn't born into fame, he fought his way into it. One step at a time. By the time he reached stardom, those who knew him from his early years said one thing about Clark Gable: he never forgot where he came from. Clark Gable's journey to stardom was anything but easy. When he first arrived in Hollywood during the early 1920s, he was just another struggling actor with big dreams and an empty wallet. He took small theater parts, worked as a stagehand, and learned every trick of the trade. But what truly set him apart was his determination and that unmistakable charisma that no camera could ignore. At first, Hollywood didn't know what to do with him. Producers thought his rugged looks and deep voice were too rough for leading roles. But Gable had something rare: confidence mixed with sincerity. He began taking small parts in silent films and stage plays, slowly building a reputation for his professionalism and strong presence. His big break came in the early 1930s when talkies took over silent films. Gable's voice, rich, powerful, and commanding, suddenly became his biggest weapon. MGM Studios took notice, and soon he signed a contract that would change his life forever. In 1931, he starred in A Free Soul alongside Norma Shearer. His role as a tough, dangerous man captured audiences instantly. Women adored him, and men admired him. Overnight, Clark Gable became Hollywood's newest sensation. His performances were raw and magnetic, a mix of strength and vulnerability that felt real. By 1934, Gable's place in Hollywood history was sealed with It Happened One Night. The film not only showcased his charm but also earned him an Academy Award for Best Actor. That moment transformed him from a rising star into a household name. From then on, Gable was unstoppable. MGM branded him as the ultimate leading man, the King of Hollywood. He starred in one hit after another, including Mutiny on the Bounty 1935 and, of course, the legendary Gone with the Wind 1939. His portrayal of Rhett Butler became iconic, defining the golden age of cinema. Behind the fame, though, Gable stayed humble. He respected the crew, treated extras kindly, and often said he was just lucky to be here. That down-to-earth attitude made everyone in Hollywood love him even more. By the late 1930s, Clark Gable wasn't just a movie star, he was a symbol of everything Hollywood stood for: talent, charm, and timeless class. His rise from a poor Ohio boy to the most admired actor in the world remains one of Hollywood's greatest success stories. Behind Clark Gable's confident smile and rugged charm was a man whose love life was as dramatic as any movie he ever made. Though he played romantic heroes on screen, his real-life romances were filled with passion, heartbreak, and tragedy. Gable married 5 times, each marriage showing a different chapter of his complicated heart. His first marriage was to Josephine Dillon, a woman 17 years older than him and his acting coach. She saw potential in the young, struggling Gable when no one else did. She taught him to act, to speak, and to carry himself like a star. But once success came, their love faded. Gable later admitted that their relationship felt more like mentorship than marriage. His second marriage, to Maria Franklin Langham, brought him wealth and status. Maria, a wealthy socialite, helped open doors for him in Hollywood. But Gable's growing fame and his love for adventure couldn't be contained. Their marriage quietly ended as his career soared. Then came Carole Lombard, the true love of his life. They met while filming No Man of Her Own in 1932, but it wasn't until years later that sparks truly flew. Carole was funny, beautiful, and full of life, the perfect match for Gable's rough edges. They married in 1939, right after Gone with the Wind turned him into a global superstar. For a while, it seemed like Gable had found peace. Friends said they were inseparable, teasing, laughing, and living life without Hollywood's fake glamour. But fate had other plans. In 1942, Carole Lombard tragically died in a plane crash while returning from a war bond tour. Gable was shattered. He joined the U.S. Army soon after, saying he wanted to get away from everything. Those who knew him said he never fully recovered from losing her after the war. Gable married Lady Sylvia Ashley, a British actress and widow of Douglas Fairbanks. But that marriage lasted only a year. Their worlds were too different. His final marriage was to Kay Williams in 1955. With her, Gable found quiet companionship during his later years. Through all his marriages, Clark Gable's heart remained tied to one woman, Carole Lombard. He kept her picture beside his bed until the day he died. When he passed away in 1960, he was buried beside her. Finally reunited with the only woman he ever truly loved, Clark Gable worked with many of Hollywood's biggest names. But there were only a few he truly respected actors who inspired him, challenged him, and earned his admiration both on and off the screen. These were the legends who shaped his journey and left a lasting mark on the king of Hollywood himself. The first was Spencer Tracy. Gable admired Tracy's quiet power and natural acting style. He often said Tracy didn't need to act, he was the character. Their mutual respect ran deep, and Gable once admitted that Tracy's ability to make every line feel real pushed him to become a better performer. Next was Jean Harlow, his beloved co-star in Red Dust and Saratoga. Gable and Harlow shared undeniable chemistry, both on and off the screen. He respected her professionalism and spirit. When Harlow tragically died at just 26, Gable was devastated. He later said, "Jean made everyone's day brighter, even the hard ones." Third was Charles Laughton, with whom Gable starred in Mutiny on the Bounty 1935. Despite their differences, Gable admired Laughton's talent and commitment to every role. Though their working styles clashed at times, Gable later admitted that Laughton's intensity taught him discipline and the importance of truly becoming the character. The fourth name on Gable's list was Carole Lombard, not just the love of his life, but an actress he deeply respected as a professional. Lombard's humor, courage, and natural grace inspired him. She never took fame too seriously, and Gable often said that working with her reminded him why he loved acting in the first place. And finally, Gary Cooper, a man Gable considered the definition of integrity. They shared a mutual admiration built on simplicity and strength. Cooper's humble nature and quiet confidence were traits Gable deeply valued, both as an actor and as a friend. His five, Tracy, Harlow, Laughton, Lombard, and Cooper, represented everything Clark Gable respected about Hollywood: talent, honesty, and heart. He often said that success meant nothing without character, and these stars proved that true greatness came from within. Even at the height of his fame, Clark Gable never saw himself as above others. He believed every actor, no matter how big or small, deserved respect. Perhaps that's why decades after his death, his name still carries the weight of dignity, because behind the legend was a man who never forgot to honor the ones who inspired him. By the late 1950s, Clark Gable had lived through everything: success, heartbreak, love, and loss. He was still known as the King of Hollywood, but behind that title was a man who had grown tired of fame's constant noise. After decades in the spotlight, he longed for peace, away from studio politics and flashing cameras. In 1960, Gable began filming The Misfits alongside Marilyn Monroe and Montgomery Clift. It was a demanding shoot, long hours under the blazing Nevada sun. Though he was 59, Gable insisted on performing most of his own stunts, refusing to let age slow him down. Crew members noticed he looked exhausted, but he kept pushing forward, determined to finish the film. When filming wrapped, Gable reportedly told a friend, "This was the best picture I've made in years. But it took everything out of me." Just days later, on November 16, 1960, Clark Gable suffered a massive heart attack and passed away in Los Angeles. His sudden death shocked Hollywood and broke the hearts of millions around the world. Marilyn Monroe called him the only real gentleman in Hollywood. Directors, actors, and fans from every corner of the industry paid tribute to him. Yet the most emotional goodbye came from those who knew his heart best. They buried him beside Carole Lombard, the woman he had loved and lost nearly 20 years earlier. Even in death, Clark Gable remained larger than life. His charm, his voice, and that famous grin became timeless symbols of an era when Hollywood was golden. Films like It Happened One Night, Mutiny on the Bounty, and Gone with the Wind still remind audiences why he was and always will be the king of Hollywood. But beyond the fame and the movies, Gable's legacy lives in his humility. He treated everyone from directors to set workers with the same respect. He often said, "We're all just doing our jobs, no one's better than anyone else." That down-to-earth attitude made him not just a movie star, but a true legend. Decades later, his influence continues to shine. Every actor who plays a strong, charming hero owes something to Clark Gable's legacy. He proved that real power doesn't come from fame, it comes from character, courage, and heart. Clark Gable may have left this world too soon, but his spirit still lives in every frame of classic cinema. He didn't just act, he defined what it meant to be a Hollywood icon.